Welcome back to character modeling. We completed the pants in the last lesson, and we're going to move on to modeling the shoe in this one. I did a kind of mock-up of what the shoe is going to look like based on the drawing. And this guy's got some pretty large feet, and we can see sort of what this looks like following the drawing here. And I think that's one of these instances where it looks okay in the drawing, but once we model it out and we look at the proportions compared to the character, the shoes are looking a little large. And it also poses some potential challenges for animation as well as rigging to have shoes that are this large and sticking out this far. So I think we're going to go ahead and kind of scale back on the size a little bit and sort of follow the overall design concept, but just scale down on the length of it in particular. It's just sticking out a little too far. So this is sort of what it's going to look like. You can see it in just standard mode here without smooth preview on. So fairly blocky and fairly simple. We're going to block out just the basic shape of this, and then I'm going to show you some alternatives that you can do as far as kind of adding some detail to your shoe to customize it. We'll start with the base shoe, and then you can sort of have at it after that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just turn this one off, hide that, and we'll start modeling with a polygon cube. So let's come up here on our shelf and create a cube and bring that up here so it's sitting on the grid. Check it from our side view, and let's go ahead and scale it. Kind of position that. So this is probably a good length right here, maybe just a little bit longer. So we're looking overall at about 4.5 units in Maya, and I'm kind of lining it up here with the back of the heel, and you can see the toe is getting cut off right there. Okay, and I'm going to make sure that's sitting down here on the ground plane. Let's come back out here and widen it up a little bit. So it's not quite 2 units wide. And let's add some subdivisions. So the width, we're going to put 1 in, and the depth, I think we'll need about 4 to work with, and we'll add some more edge loops in there as we need them. And I'm going to go ahead and drag this over. And to work with this, we're going to just isolate it for the moment. So go ahead and check that. That way we can move around without the pants getting in the way. All right, so let's start shaping this. I'm going to come to the kind of a top view here in the perspective and start kind of pulling out some of these points here. Shaping the heel. So this was the back part of the heel that we had. And we can pull the toe back a little bit, as well as this one. Okay. And I'm going to kind of push these down initially. Okay, and then we can kind of shape where the opening is going to be. So let's grab this row of vertices and pull it up, and I think we already need an edge loop right here. I'm going to kind of tuck these back here. This is going to be our heel, and the heel is very small. Flatten those out again. So put an edge loop right here. This is going to be the opening for the sock to come out of. And we'll grab these vertices and pull them back, as well as in. Okay. And I think we can widen this up a little bit. There we go. And let's come here and take a look at the heel. So the heel's kind of going at a bit of an angle, starting right here. So we're pretty close to that. And I think this can probably move up just a little more. And let's go ahead and pull the heel up. So I'm going to grab a marquee around the back part of it And we're going to position this up. We're going to extrude the heel out of the back part here, the bottom faces. So let's just pull this up and get it into position. And we've got kind of a curve working with this design here. So I'm not only going to pull it up, but I'm going to kind of angle it out just a little bit. Same thing here. So a little bit of an angle. Okay. And we've got this kind of big scoop happening right here. So let's kind of pull these points up just a little more. Okay. And we can push these down to get that scoop happening. And this one could probably come up just a little higher. There we go. Let's go ahead and extrude that heel down. So I'm going to grab the faces in the back here and then deselect the ones on the top. That leaves me with the bottom ones selected, and I'm just going to extrude them down. And we'll need to flatten them as well, so I'm just dragging the Y scale down to the center. And I want to make sure that they are resting on the ground plane. And then we'll scale it in a little bit like this to get that angle. And again, I don't think it needs to be as extreme as the drawing. Okay, and we can grab these vertices here in the back and pull them up a little. Okay, maybe angle that. Okay, so again, just broad strokes, getting things kind of in place here. Here we go. Let's come back out here and take a look at it. Okay, so it's still very flat on the top here. Let's grab these vertices and pull them up, as well as this one. So starting to round it out on the top a little bit. And let's go ahead and get the sole in. We'll do that with an edge loop. So we'll drop an edge loop in right about here. And we'll need two more. So one on either side. Q on the keyboard to end that process, and then I'm going to double click on the one in the middle, and we're going to scale that in, and that's going to create an edge there for the sole. Okay. And if we were to hit 3 on the keyboard right now, it would look very soft. We need to insert some edge loops to kind of harden up those edges. So let's go back to 1. And just looking in the back right here, we can already see this kind of needs to taper in with the heel. So I'm grabbing the points on the heel, make sure I don't have anything else selected. And I'm going to drag that in. That narrows the heel down. Okay, let's insert some edge loops. So we'll need one on the bottom here to hold that edge. One up here against this top part of the sole, and one down here to hold the shoe in place. Let's go ahead and place one on the bottom of the heel, as well as right here. Hold that edge together, and we'll need another one right here as well. Okay, so that's going to create a little edge right up here. If we hit 3 on the keyboard, we can kind of see what's going on here. So it's not too bad right now. We may have to space these out a little bit more. And we haven't extruded this area, so maybe what we need to do, let's just back out of those last 2 extrudes, and we will create the inside area and the sock first, and then we'll come back here and finish up with the heel, because you can see the heel right now is very round. Okay, so let's grab our faces here. Got one on the bottom. Okay, and we'll extrude that. Center it in world space, activate scale, and we'll just scale it in. So that's going to create some thickness for the shoe. And we'll extrude again. Go to world space, and we'll push this one down a little bit. So this is going to kind of create an edge loop for us. That's what we're doing right there. Extrude again. Go to world space and push that down. And we can probably scale this up a little bit. Okay, maybe move it forward. Let's extrude again. Scale it in just a little bit. So this is kind of creating a little bit of an edge loop here for our sock. And extrude again. And this is going to actually be our sock coming up. Come up here in world space. Okay. So we've got kind of this uneven area here. Let's go ahead and flatten that out by pulling the scale Y down to the center. Flattens that. Okay, so we're kind of at about his ankle right here. I'm going to angle it back just a little bit. Extrude again, go to world space, and pull that up. And we can kind of scale that down a little bit. Scale that down for his leg. Okay, so right now it's still kind of blocky. We'll add a little bit more resolution in there when we need it. Okay, so let's go ahead and insert the edge loop here now that we have that done. Hold that edge together. Okay. Q on the keyboard to end that process. 3 on the keyboard to take a look at it. Let's get rid of these faces up here. So just drag a marquee and then deselect and delete those faces on the top. We don't need those. And back to 3 on the keyboard. So it's starting to look like a shoe. And it feels a little wide in the back here. So I'm going to grab all the vertices in the back here and kind of scale it down a little just to narrow it. Okay. And go back to 1 on the keyboard. So we're going to extrude these 2 faces right here just to create a tongue. And I'm doing this in the local space. And now I'm going to world space and scaling it in. And we can probably extrude that one more time. Pull it up. And then go to world space. Kind of angle it forward a little bit. And this is where you can start kind of getting creative and designing it how you want. Okay, I'm going to grab the vertices out here. Pull those up a little bit and in just to round that out. Okay, so if you hit 3 on the keyboard now, this is going to get pretty soft across here. We need some edge loops going around. So let's go ahead and insert 2, 1 on the back side and then 1 towards the front. And if you hit 3 now, you can see it holding that shape a little better. Okay. And I think the top part of his shoe is feeling just a little thick, so I'm going to kind of push it back, make it a little bit more cartoony. Okay. And we've got a little bit of a softness right here, a little bit of a curve. It doesn't really bother me. I think I'll just go ahead and leave that. If you want to get rid of that, you would insert another edge loop right here. But just know when you do that, it's going to affect it all the way up here. Okay. So let's take a look at that. So this is kind of the basic shape of the shoe. And you can certainly do a lot more with this. You can grab the faces on the front here. And if you want this sort of a raised area on the toe, you can duplicate the faces under Edit Mesh, Duplicate Face. And I'm going to have to go into my outliner and grab that. So it's gone inside here. There it is. And let's center the pivot on there. So you can kind of pull this up and out. And I probably didn't need those bottom ones right there. I'm going to go ahead and just take those off. Just delete those and grab all the faces and extrude them. Give it a little bit of thickness, as you can see I'm doing right there. Go back to object mode and I'm going to place this back on top. Let's close that down. And I'm going to hit 3 on the keyboard for both of these. So right now, this needs some edge loops in there because it's getting that round edge. But this is how you would start adding some pieces on top. Scale just a little bit. And we can add edge loop right here. Okay, and then it's just a matter of grabbing the vertices and shaping those, pushing them in. There we go. And pulling these up just a little bit. So this is one thing that you can do to kind of make your shoe look a little unique. There we go. And if you don't like that little round corner down there at the bottom, you can always add another edge loop to get rid of that. That'll square it off and give you a little bit more resolution to shape it as well. Here we go. Okay. And you can kind of tuck these ones in the front in a little bit more that are hanging out. Just want to make sure you're grabbing the right ones. You can always go into wireframe mode and make sure that you're not grabbing something on the back side. If I were to grab these in the front here and accidentally grab the other ones and move them around, this is a way of checking. You can also tell by your pivot point being off to the side, it should be local around the ones that you select. If not, you can usually just kind of guess where the other ones are selected and deselect them. So back to 5 on the keyboard. There's an example right there. So just deselect, kind of push those in. Kind of fit it around the shoe there, the sole. And these went in just a little too far. There we go. So something like that. You can also copy the faces across the top here and insert an edge loop and delete faces and create an area if you want to lace up the front here. Let's go ahead and turn our character back on and take a look at it. So that's still fairly large. You can scale it back pretty easily. You can either just grab all the vertices and scale them back, or grab the whole group on here and scale it back uniformly and push it back. Okay, just make sure it's sitting on the ground plane. Okay, and if you want to angle them out just a little bit, you can do that as well. Just know when you're rigging, it's another angle that you're going to have to do if you're going to rig the character. Even in Human IK, you'll have to adjust for that. So I'm going to leave mine forward. Okay, and with this group, let's come into our outliner and kind of name things here and do a little cleanup. So our P cube 1 is our shoe, and inside there, that's the little toe piece. So it's our toe, here's our shoe, and our shoe group. Okay, and right now we centered our pivot over that point right there. Let's go ahead and move that pivot point back to the origin so we can duplicate special the shoe over to the other side. So that's the insert key on a PC, it's the home key on a Mac. And we're going to hold down the X key and just snap it to the grid here. We just need it on the center one, and then insert again to get out of that. And then we can come under Edit, Duplicate Special option box. Make sure we have a -1 in scale X. That's going to copy that over. Okay. And we can go ahead and freeze the transformations here as well as this side and clean up the history on it. Okay. And there's our character's shoes. And again, you can start customizing however you want. I'm going to import one that I'll show you I did. Let me just turn this one off. And I'll import kind of a sneaker version that I did. Okay, so a lot flatter. And I didn't extrude a heel out with this one, but it was basically the same concept here. I kind of extruded the top out instead of duplicating the faces here, but this was duplicating the faces, these faces right here on top, and then I cut a center out on them, placed some NURBS toruses, so that was just NURBS torus, and scaled it way down and just positioned each one of these up here. And I have not done the laces yet. That's something I'll get to in a little bit, but that's just really creating more toruses and kind of cutting them in half and placing them in a crisscross fashion and duplicating them up here. And the lace itself, the actual kind of tie here, would be done with a CV curve tool. And I'll probably make that a lesson towards the end. This is another piece I duplicated here, these faces on the back, and then shaped them. And here's an example of me kind of adding an edge loop around here, very much like how we did the pants. Okay, so those are some other options for shoes that you can do. But you do have kind of a basic shoe to work with now and kind of create your own stylized shoe. Okay, in the next lesson, we're going to work on the belt and kind of completing that. And we'll get to that in the next lesson.